For 30 years, Camilla Parker Bowles played the long game. She waited. She endured. She survived the hatred, the protests, the eggs, the headlines, the comparisons to a woman the world would never stop loving. She waited until Diana was gone. She waited until Charles wore the crown. She waited until the palace machine had worked hard enough, long enough, to make the British public accept what they had sworn they never would. And then she became queen. She thought she had won. She thought the chapter was finally closed. She was wrong. Because Diana's son just opened it back up. And what William is reclaiming, piece by piece, decision by decision, with the patience of a man who has been waiting his entire life for this moment, is not just his mother's legacy. It is the truth. The full, unfiltered, impossible to bury truth of what was taken from Diana, what was stolen from her, what the palace machine spent 2 decades trying to make the world forget. Camilla's era is not ending quietly, it is collapsing. And William is the reason why. Welcome to North Wire, where we tell the stories the palace doesn't want you to hear. If this is your first time here, hit subscribe right now. We upload every single day. And trust me, you do not want to miss what is coming. Before we can understand what William is reclaiming, we have to be honest about what was taken. Not the romantic version. Not the fairy tale that crumbled. The real inventory of loss. Diana's HRH title, stripped in the divorce settlement of 1996. A deliberate, calculated act of institutional punishment that told the world Diana was no longer fully one of them. Her security detail produced after the divorce, leaving her more exposed than any former Princess of Wales had ever been. Her mental health support denied by a palace that told her she didn't qualify for help because she was no longer a working royal. Her children, subjected to a custody arrangement that kept them inside the institution she had been pushed out of. Her voice controlled, managed, intercepted. Her phone calls monitored. Her friendships scrutinized. Her every move tracked. The collapse of Camilla's era did not begin with a single dramatic act of defiance. It began the way William does everything, quietly, deliberately, without announcing himself until the moment was impossible to reverse. It began with the portrait. Diana's official portrait, kept out of sight for years, placed by William on the Hall of Matriarchs wall, beside Queen Elizabeth, in the most prestigious corridor in Windsor Castle. Camilla saw it and was reportedly gobsmacked. She ran to Charles and demanded it be removed. But William had made it immovable. Logged, documented, witnessed. Removing it would have required Charles to publicly, formally, on the record, erase his son's tribute to his own mother. Charles couldn't do it. Then came the estate. Queen Elizabeth's private holdings, the ones Camilla's family had quietly positioned themselves to benefit from passed to William, not to the Parker Bowles circle. Not anywhere near the people who had built their social ambitions around Camilla's rise. To William, Diana's son, Elizabeth's chosen heir of her most personal assets. Camilla's family was furious. Legal questions were raised. Private conversations exploded into something barely contained. But the deed was signed, and then Princess Anne, William's quiet, powerful, long-watching ally, who stood beside him when it mattered, who spoke privately to Charles in the way that only a sister can speak to a king, who made it clear, without ambiguity, that Diana's memory would not be quietly retired. On her watch, one by one, piece by piece, William is taking back everything, by a palace that feared what she might say next. And finally, her place in royal history, her portrait in a storage room, her name minimized, her legacy managed by the very institution that had spent years making her life unbearable. This is what was taken from Diana. Not in one dramatic moment, but slowly, systematically, in the quiet, lethal way that institutions destroy people when they cannot control them. William grew up watching all of it. He was a child then. He is a future king now. And the accounting has begun. To understand the full scale of what is happening, you have to understand how secure Camilla believed her position was. She had done everything right by the palace's own standards. She had been patient. She had been managed. She had submitted to years of image rehabilitation and public reinvention, with a discipline that even her critics had to acknowledge. The palace had announced her as queen, not princess consort, as Charles had once publicly promised. The queen. She had stood beside Charles at the coronation in Westminster Abbey. She had worn the crown. She had received the formal salute of the British state. By every external measure, she had arrived. But here is what Camilla miscalculated. She conflated Charles' power with the monarchy's power. She assumed that what Charles gave her, the title, the access, the institutional protection, would survive Charles. It will not. Charles is the bridge Camilla crossed to reach the palace. But William controls what happens when that bridge is gone. And William has been clear in his actions, in his decisions, in the quiet, impossible to ignore way he keeps moving Diana back to the center of the monarchy's story. There is no permanent place for Camilla's era in the future. He is building. The collapse was always coming. William simply decided when. What makes William's reclamation so powerful is not just what he is taking back. It is what he is replacing it with. Every move William has made, the portrait, the estate, the alliance with Anne, the way he is raising George, Charlotte, and Louis to know exactly who their grandmother was, is part of a single, coherent, decades-in-the-making project. The restoration of Diana's rightful place at the center of the monarchy's story. Not as a tragic footnote, not as a cautionary tale about what happens to women who challenge the institution, but as a foundational figure, a woman whose compassion, whose connection to ordinary people, whose refusal to be diminished, shaped the future king who now carries her values forward. William is doing what Diana never got to do for herself. He is making the palace acknowledge her, not with words. William rarely uses words when actions will do, but with portraits on walls, with estates bearing her son's name, with grandchildren raised to know her story. With a future monarchy that looks, in every meaningful way, far more like the institution Diana believed it could be than the one that broke her. Camilla spent decades trying to step out of Diana's shadow. William is making sure the shadow never shrinks. Those close to William say this is not the end of what he has planned. It is the beginning. When William becomes king, and that day is coming, with Charles aging and the weight of the crown showing on him in ways the palace cannot fully conceal, the transformation of the monarchy will accelerate. Camilla's title queen, the title she fought 3 decades to reach, will not survive the transition. She will not be queen mother. She will not hold a position of influence in William's court. She will be managed, accommodated in the way that institutions accommodate figures from previous eras who no longer serve the current narrative. But she will not be central. Diana will be central in the official commemorations that William will finally be able to authorize, in the documentaries that will receive full royal backing, in the way the monarchy presents its own history to the world, and George, Diana's grandson, the future king, will carry her memory forward into a reign that neither Camilla nor the palace of the 1990s could ever have imagined. The era that tried to erase Diana will itself be erased. Not dramatically, not with a single announcement or a public confrontation, but thoroughly, permanently, in the way that only the passage of time and the quiet power of the right person at the right moment can accomplish. William is that person, and his moment is now. There is a word Diana used in her most private moments, in letters, in recorded conversations, in the things she said to the people she trusted most. The word was belong. She wanted to belong to this family, to this institution, to the country that loved her so fiercely and so completely. She spent her whole life fighting for the right to be fully, officially, permanently part of something that kept finding ways to push her to its edges. She never fully won that fight while she was alive. But look at what is happening now. Her portrait hangs beside the greatest queen of the modern era. Her ring is on the hand of the future queen. Her values are in the soul of the future king. Her name is in the middle name of a princess who inherited her fire. Her joy lives in a little boy who makes the whole world laugh. And her son, Diana's boy, the one she raised against every obstacle the palace could put in her way, is dismantling Camilla's era with the same quiet, unstoppable, the determination that Diana always said she wished she'd had more of. She has it now. In him. Camilla's era is collapsing, and rising in its place, built on love and memory and the unbreakable bond between a mother and the son she shaped, is Diana's part. Subscribe to Northwire right now. We upload every single day, new royal stories, new truths, new chapters in the story that the palace has never wanted you to fully understand. Hit the subscribe button. Turn on your notifications, and drop a comment below. Tell us what you think William should do next. Because this community sees what others miss, and we are just getting started. Thank you for being here on Northwire. New video tomorrow, same time, same truth. Subscribe, notify, and share this with someone who needs to hear Diana's story told the right way. The Crown has secrets. We uncover them every single day. See you tomorrow.